Good morning guys, and welcome back to Bareham Engines on this beautiful Bank Holiday Monday morning. So as you may have guessed guys, we're not actually working today. It is Bank Holiday Monday, but I've just popped in to do a little bit of paperwork, sort a few little bits out. I can't stay away from the place, you know what it's like. So I thought I would take this opportunity. I'm just going to give you a little update on the Vauxhall VXR engine over there. Absolutely brilliant. I shouldn't laugh really. But before that, I thought, to be honest with you, what I'm going to start doing from now on is just giving you a little bit of a sort of go through of the smaller items of equipment we've got and the little techniques that we come across and do throughout the workshop on various jobs. I did record a little bit Friday. Now I've got Isaac to hold the camera and I've got the use of both hands. I find it a lot easier now to sort of show you how to work some of these bits of equipment we've got that I haven't really been able to do up until now. So Friday I did record a little bit on using this. It's a valve spring and collet remover. So what I'll do, rather than go into it now, I'll just play that video and show you what this is all about. This is a really, really handy bit of kit. It cuts the time of removing valves and springs like nothing else. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got to put the springs and collets back in the Zetec head. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you this valve spring compressor that we've got here. First thing you do is you sit the head on these feet either side, right on the side of the head. And then on the front, you've got some pegs which you can adjust to sit the head either forwards or backwards, wherever you want really. So you pull the head over onto those pegs, then you undo the clamps at the side and you bring it back until the valves are upright, as upright as you can, and then you just lock those on. Now what this does, it just makes life a lot easier because if any of you guys have used a valve spring compressor, you're probably used to using one of the conventional either air or manual types like down the back here. So you've got these here which we use when the head's off, but they're an absolute nightmare to use. I don't know whether any of you have bothered, but this just makes life a lot easier. So we've got two different size heads here, and what you do is undo the clamp and you pull it over until it is dead central to the valve at the top there. And then on the other side there's a foot that sits, when you pull it down, it sits up under the valve and holds the valve in place. So we lock that in, and now as you can see that is compressing the spring when we wind it down. So then what we do, we've got this tool here, depending what collet size it is or valve stem size. So this is a 6mm, we use the 6mm tool, and you've got the collets here. So what we do is we put the collet in thick end first, you just pull back that and put it in until it's flush with the face. Same the other side, and then in theory this should work. You compress the spring right the way down and just push the collets down until they get home, lift it up, and there we go. Ta-da, like magic. Just makes life a lot easier. You're probably talking, what, 5 minutes to do one of these heads? With one of those there, you'd be lucky to do it in half an hour. So, and you're going to scratch the face of the head, almost guaranteed. So there we go, guys. While Isaac's holding the phone and I've now got two hands to work with, I can show you things like this. So this is the Cosworth cylinder head here that Mark has got to take away and titivate. We were waiting for various welding bits for our welder so he could do it here, but unfortunately the pump's packed up on the water cooling system, so he's going to have to take this away and complete that. So that's a work in progress. Here we've got a Pinto. Yep, it's not a Cosworth. I know Paul said earlier that it was a Cosworth, but it's actually not. It's a Pinto, and this belongs to Isaac's old boss actually. I'm not sure what it's in, but he just wanted it, I think it was a bit down on compression and what have you, and a bit smoky, so the usual really. So we've bored this set of high compression pistons, Marla crank bearings. We've just polished the crank and we've gone through the cylinder head here, and Isaac's done the clearances. He's put the crank and the rods and the pistons in. So yeah, I think he was sort of out to impress his old boss on that one, but he's done a really good job, bless him. This here is the 4.2 Jag cylinder head. So this one here is complete. The only thing is I've got to strip it out now, and we're going to fit the clamping kit that clamps the bucket housings down, like we do on them all. So I'm just going to whip these out in a moment and do that, and then that is done. This here is a Blacktop Zetec head. So this is, well, what, 20, 25 years old now. But this is in a fairly tuned motor. So the customer's bought this in for an overhaul. So we've done the valves and the seats. He was going to go for the bigger valves, but he's not going to bother anymore. So all we're going to do, standard valves, we've cut the valves, cut the seats, we've solder blasted the ports, etc. And then he's got some fast road cams there with the vernier pulleys. And this is a non-hydraulic, so this is the shim top buckets. So what I've done, while the head's off, as I said to you, normally, because it's all standard shims in there, we put everything together, like the valves in with the new stem seals, buckets in, cams in, and we do the clearances off the valves, providing they're not too far out, which they're not. So we've done all those now. What we've got here is some uprated springs and new spring tops. So we're going to pop those in, and then we are going to put this thing back together very loosely, because there's no point bolting the cams down, because as you can see, the head bolts go underneath the cams on this. You have to take the cams out to put the head on the block. So yeah, just put this back together loosely, and that is another one done. This is the Cosworth head to the block over there, which I'm putting the ductile iron liners in. So this one here, I've got to get a new set of valves for, springs and spring tops. He's got standard cams, so we'll give this a good clean up, and basically build him a good cylinder head out of that. And then I've got to build the tall motor, and those are those con rods there, which are brand new, the H section, and they'll be good for him really. Here we've got a Harley Davidson engine, which we've got to do various bits of machining for. I think John's done the cylinder heads and sorted the barrels out, and I think we've just got to put the bottom end together on this. But yeah, I've noticed a few comments recently saying, do we do motorcycles? And yeah, we do. We try not to get too involved with doing the builds on them, but we do a lot of machining, so rebores, cylinder heads, and all that. Here we've got a KMX, I think this is a KMX 125. This has been here ages. I know the guy that owns this, but he's sort of disappeared, and I thought, to be honest, until he reappears, I'm not even going to bother starting this. Right then, guys, the VXR. We did a video on this, what was going on here. So this engine's been sitting on this pallet now for, what, 5 weeks, something like that. The video's obviously gone a little bit far. It's got 170,000 views on it. It was one of those where it's not a warranty job, it's a dispute over the bill. Now, that video I did a month ago, if you watch it there, I did find it a little bit amusing. Maybe I shouldn't, but I had a load of comments afterwards, which obviously I did read, and they sort of said, look, you need to get things in writing, via email, via paperwork, rather than verbal agreements over the phone. And you're very much right. And that is why, to be honest with you, since then, I have started to get everything in writing. I'm getting it down on email. Once we've discussed it on the phone, I've been getting it down on email and getting it in writing, so we can sort of revert back to that if there is any dispute. So thanks very much for that, guys. I do listen to you, and that is exactly what we're doing from here on. So the update on this, if we just recap a little bit, this was the one that the guy rang me up about 18 months prior to the engine coming in and said, can I have an estimate on doing a rebore and a set of pistons for a VXR? So I sent him an estimate via email, never heard anything back. Then he come back almost 18 months later and said, gonna send it in. It sounded like it was his car, but he got a mechanic doing the work. He said he's ready to do it now, he's got the motor out and all that, he's going to send the block down. So when it turned up as basically a complete engine. So I rang him back and I said, listen, this is a little bit more than the estimate, this is a complete engine here, what do you want me to do? He said, best thing to do, just get in touch with my mechanic and liaise with him, because he knows what he wants. So that's exactly what I did. He said, look, the reason I've sent that down is because the head needs looking at. Obviously, he said, if I'm going to be putting it together, then it's got to be right. He said, so the head needs looking at. You need to bore the block, obviously, because it had damaged bores, melted pistons, and you need to face the block. So that's what I did. I said, what about the bits? He said, you may as well get them. So there we go. The only thing that changed was when I estimated a price for pistons, they were £450 to the customer plus the VAT. Obviously, 18 months has gone by. A lot's happened since then. No longer available. Could get them from Germany. They're going to be about up to 3 months, and the price has gone from £450 to £600. I informed the customer, not the mechanic, and he said, well, if that's what it is, that's what it is. In the meantime, I managed to, in the last 18 months, I've been using another supplier. So I've been using a company called Mar Motorsport. They could do a Wasner item, which were down there, and they were the same. They traded out £600. So the only good thing about those is I could get them within about 3 or 4 days. So anyway, that's what we did. We went through the cylinder head, we bored and faced the block. The guy wanted us to supply gaskets, so I supplied gaskets and crank bearings. So I got them all from Mar Motorsport. Right, so we had this dispute. The reason I found it funny is because he seemed to think he was going to get all this work and the extra bits for the price of the original estimate. And I couldn't get it through to him that we'd obviously done more work and there was more bits. So a month's gone by, he's gone. Haven't heard anything from him. Try ringing him 3 times, can't get hold of him or his business partner, because we found out, and as I said in the last video, we found out that they were traders. So couldn't get hold of them. When I did the video on it last, some guy got in touch with me and said, I see you've got a VXR engine sitting on the pallet there from your video. Do you want to sell it? I said, well, obviously it's not mine to sell. Very weirdly though, this guy sounded just like the guy that actually owns it, and he even had the same accent, which was really weird, but maybe just a coincidence. I said, look, not mine to sell. I'm gonna have to try and get in touch with the customer again, and I'll put this to him. If he doesn't want to have it, then you can maybe liaise with him and do a deal, but we just want paying for it. Anyway, tried ringing the customer again, wouldn't answer. So I left a message and sent him an email saying, listen, we just want paying for this. We're going to obviously have to get in touch with our solicitor and see where the land lies, but we're going to have to sell this eventually. We've got someone that's interested if you want to sell it. What do you want to do? Sure enough, Friday he gets in touch with me. I thought that he would sort of see sense, bearing in mind he's got a car sitting there that's a pretty good car apparently. I did get in touch with the mechanic again. He said he's heard nothing from him either. And he said in a minute he's going to have a car sitting in the middle of the road with no engine because he's had enough of it. I said, right, fair enough. Anyway, guy gets in touch with me. I thought he would sort of see sense. He's got a car that's probably worth about 6,000 quid, all done. So he could probably recoup some money. Obviously, before he even came to us, he must have liaised with his mechanic on how much potentially an engine build's going to cost. And he's going to need all the bits to put it back together. Anyway, when he rang me Friday, sure enough, we're no further forward. He still cannot understand why it isn't the original estimated price. I said, well, look, again, we've got extra bits. We've got gaskets, which are 250 quid. We've got bearings, which are probably a couple of £100 because they're competition bearings. And we've got the headwork and the face of the block. Oh, and polishing the crank. Well, can't we knock it down? I said, no, that's what it is. I said, I have spoke to your mechanic who you asked me to liaise with. I did send through another estimate, which was ignored. And that's it. We just want paying for the parts and the labour and the machining, He said, well, how can we cut it down? I said, well, the only way we can cut it down is by sending the bits back. All right, see if you can do that. I said, well, I'm sure they were special order, but I will try. So I've rang our supplier And Adrian there, he's good as gold. He said, yes, they were, but we could probably use the gaskets and we could just stick the other bits on the shelf, seeing as it's you. And I said, well, look, to be honest, I don't want to put you out of pocket or inconvenience you. I'll just have, if you have them back, I'll just have some Cosworth bits because I always use them. So I've rang the customer back. I said, look, we can save here. You can have a little bit of a send back or service charge on the gaskets and the piston, but I can send all that back. Well, how much is that going to save? I said, well, 600 on the pistons, 250 on the gaskets. You can't save on the bearings because I've opened them. But there's about 850 quid, minus a few quid for sending them back and what have you. Oh, right, yeah, okay. He said, although I'd probably do want the pistons. I said, well, you are going to need the pistons. He said, yeah, I don't really want to send them back. And I said, you're going to need the gaskets as well, do you think? I said, I know. I said, look, you could save 250 quid now on these gaskets, but when your mechanic gets it all back and goes to put it all back together, he's going to say, right, I need some gaskets. And I guarantee those gaskets are going to cost you more than you are paying me for them. Oh, yeah, I suppose you're right. I'm going to have to go away and have a word with my business partner, he says, and get back to you next week on this. I thought, well, you do that, mate, but I don't quite know what you want me to say. I mean, trying to save money on the bits is completely ridiculous. Your mechanic, when he comes to put it back together, he's going to need the bits. So that's where we are with it, guys. It's one of them. It's bloody ridiculous, to be honest with you, but see what you think. But as I say, don't worry about commenting on, you know, getting things down in writing, because we have started to do that in the last month since you guys commented on this. So just wanted to give you an update. Let me know what you think down in the comments on that, guys, and what you think we should do. But have a lovely rest of your Bank Holiday Monday, guys. We will see you Wednesday. You take care. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you again. Cheers, guys.